I'm going to react to Bryan Callen angrily addressing him throwing Chris D'Elia under the bus. So I've done reaction videos before to when he threw Chris D'Elia under the bus and to Tim Dillon mocking him for it. Well, now he's addressing that and all the critics and going to clear up everything. So this is from the latest episode of his Patreon podcast. Go subscribe to his Patreon podcast. Bryan Callen addressing everything. Let's check it out.
Working hard on this.
You look good. I want to clear up a conspiracy. I think last podcast, and this is for all you fucking guys out there who, I think I said I'd only hung out with Chris once and went out to dinner once or something like that. Let me clear this up right now. Chris is my friend. I've always been in touch with Chris through this whole time that he's had his ordeal. And when I say I didn't hang out with Chris, I'm saying I didn't hang out with him because the times I saw him were at the Comedy Store. Our relationship was Comedy Store, and when we were...
It's work, right?
It was always work. The truth is, when you're way older than somebody, you don't go to lunch or dinner fucking ever. The times I saw him when I wasn't at the Comedy Store was never saw him on the road. The times I saw him were at Swingers 4 or 5 times maybe, when he would go after shows at 11 o'clock and I would go have some pancakes. No, I didn't. I didn't eat pancakes, you fuck. I'd have one usually.
So he's saying that they only hung out at the Comedy Store, which is work for them. But you only do like a 10-minute set, and then the rest of the time you're just hanging out.
But the point is, with him in a group. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm not distancing myself from Chris. I'm not saying I didn't.
You
hang
love
out with,
Chris.
I
Chris
love
is
Chris.
your friend.
He's my friend. Chris is going through what he's going through. And by the way, initially when it all started, I said I've never seen Chris do anything illegal. I stand by that. Chris has never done anything illegal that I've never seen, and I don't believe he has ever done. And I stand by that. So that's the other thing. But mainly,
well, at least that's more of a defense. Like we learned from the leaked DMs, he said he knows he's innocent. Like he knows the sky is blue, but a better defense than before, I'd say.
When you guys saying, I don't know what the implication was, where I said I went to dinner, I went out to dinner with him once in 10 years or something like that. What I mean is we didn't hang out socially. I think we were talking about doing a show one time, and I went to lunch with him. And you know what's funny about Chris? If you hang with him, which I didn't realize, guess what he does? He just hangs out all day. He's one of those guys who can hang out and drink coffee all fucking day.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. You're like, fuck, man, it's been a long hangout.
Yeah, and then we had a meeting one time, and then he, after the meeting, he went and was just kind of strolling around a clothing store, and I was like, you just hang out, huh, dude? And do nothing? That's not me.
He doesn't listen to music, which is kind of the weirdest thing about Chris. Of all this stuff that's come out, which
that's not the weirdest thing about him.
I don't believe any of it, but the one thing I do believe, the dude doesn't listen to music.
He's
that's a weird
thing. He's a bit
thing.
on the spectrum.
He is on the spectrum.
Yeah, so
Listen,
anyway,
man,
I just want to put that fucking to rest. Is that I have never, a lot of people are talking to me scrubbing my Instagram. Let me talk to you about this too, just so we can put this fucking thing to bed too. The reason that I took down those videos was when all the shit went down with Chris, my friends were there, and the comments underneath were so crazy that my friend said, look, your daughter is in middle school. She's going to read this shit. Take it down. So what I did is I called Marty, my buddy. I go, hey, Marty, take all those videos down because this ain't helpful. This is not helpful to Chris. Who'd I call after that? I said to Chris, hey, dude, just so you know, I took down all these videos. That's what I did.
By the way, by this logic, since Bryan Callen has been accused of worse than Chris D'Elia, shouldn't he just not post on social media because his daughter will see those comments? But he does.
I didn't do that because I was trying to distance myself from fucking Chris.
Yeah.
I did it because the comments and the fucking insanity was so bad that I thought it was looking back on it though, I wouldn't have done that. Actually,
well, I mean, like, dude, you have a daughter, bro.
Right. And a son.
And
so here's the thing.
You know.
Parental decision, my decision. I take responsibility.
That's a real thing, dude.
Of course it is.
It's a real thing.
I just had to put that. After a while, I start to hear that it becomes a thing people are talking about. So
the problem is now we live in a time, and some
misinformation
videos are fine, but there's a lot of misinformation. But we live in a time where people now comment on content.
Yeah.
And these people have reaches, and the more they comment, the more people listen.
Why do I get a feeling Sam Tripoli's talking directly to me right now?
And it's just the way it is. When you guys went through your shit, I made videos backing you guys up, and they got a lot of views. And that's just the way it is. My whole thing is this, man. Some of my best friends, and I consider them best friends, I never hang out with. It's just because my life and what I do is at nightclubs. That's the hanging out.
Especially if you have kids. When you get older, you almost never have the time. Brendan and I, we're talking about the only times Brendan and I saw each other over the past 4 years, literally 4 years, maybe 5 years. Listen to this. Brendan Schaub, who's my business partner, who is my, one of my closest friends, I saw him at the podcast, I saw him at Fight Companions, and I would see him at the Comedy Store. That's it.
You literally went on tour with each other all the time. This is how close and how much hanging out you did with Brendan Schaub. You gave each other COVID-19. What are you talking about?
That's it.
Because you don't hang out.
I don't think we went to dinner. I think we went to dinner once for his birthday downtown. I mean, that's what happens as you become an adult.
Yeah.
You're not hanging fucking out. You're not palling around town. It's not how it works. You don't have time. You don't do that. And when you're comics, when you see each other at the Comedy Store, that is the hang.
Yeah, that is the hang, and that's why everybody misses the store right now, because you miss hanging out in the hallway.
Wait. So according to Bryan Callen, hanging out is only when you go to dinner. But when you're hanging out, that's not hanging out.
He's talking mad shit.
Or the parking lot. My ex-wife would always be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'd be like, "Well, I was talking in the parking lot till 1 in the morning."
That's where Punch Drunk, my podcast, came from. We were like, dude, we're all talking sports here.
Yeah.
Why don't we just turn this into a podcast?
Yeah. Some of the best times ever are just hanging out and being idiots.
It makes me so
We used
sad.
to do, me, Dove Davidoff, D'Elia, Chris D'Elia, Jamie Masada, and various other characters would hang out upstairs in the
Laugh Factory.
In the Laugh Factory. And
He just said he never hung out with him, but now he's saying they hung out. It makes no sense.
Dove and Jamie would laugh so hard because I would torture Chris back in the day. That's where all those roasts came in, because we'd be sitting up there and then we'd go to Greenblatt's and the roasting would continue. And because I
Greenblatt's
was older,
good, dude.
I would torture him, and then he started getting super famous, and then he started torturing me for not being famous and for being more popular. And that's what we would do. And that was Dove Davidoff's favorite fucking evening. He would just live for when I would torture Chris, when I'd call him a bird, like a man bird.
When you guys did that stuff on stage together, I was like, this is just them behind stage, on stage.
That's right. So the point is, when you have friends who are comics, you don't need to hang out with them, because you do see
That's
them
your job.
at the fucking clubs.
Yeah, that's what it is, man. So that's done.
So you hang out with them at the club, which is hanging out.
Comment on that, clip that up, do whatever you want with it. I'm telling you, man, some of my best friends in the world. I mean, like, you're just, now that I have kids, it's going to be even more insane, right? So it's like, you just go to work, man. Like Kurt Metzger, right? Kurt Metzger got in some trouble for, some Armenian comments he made about the genocide, which people, I love Armenians. A lot of them are fresh out the boat, first generation, second generation. They don't get sarcasm. Like, sarcasm is a very Western thing, dude.
It's a Western thing.
And some of them don't get it, so they take everything literal, and I had to explain to them sarcasm. And I love my people.
Okay, so that was Bryan Callen addressing the whole entire Chris D'Elia thing. Personal thoughts. I don't even know what that was. He said they didn't. Apparently, Bryan considers hanging out going to dinner with somebody, but then he explains hanging out. See, they're comedians, and I know they're looking at it as work, but they only do 10-minute sets. So when you're sitting around literally at a bar in a comedy club, chilling, hanging out, then you do your 10-minute set, then afterwards you're hanging out till, like in his own words, 1 in the morning in the parking lot. That's hanging out and trying to meet chicks and talking to people, jokes. So I don't know what kind of explanation that was. I just found it very interesting. Like I said, subscribe to Bryan Callen's Patreon to watch the entire episode. But let me know your thoughts in the comments.